Originally released in 2013 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and later in 2014 for Windows and Mac OS X, it's Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Revengeance is a hack-and-slash action game. It was developed by Platinum Games and published by Konami. Rising started life at E3 2009 as Metal Gear Solid Rising. It was intended to be the next game in the Metal Gear Solid series following 4. The game was developed by Kojima Productions, and Kojima was an executive producer on the game. After a year had passed, Kojima Productions was having trouble crafting a hack-and-slash game. Solid Rising was cancelled in late 2010. After a switch of developers from Kojima Productions to Platinum Games, the game resurfaced at the 2011 Spike Video Game Awards as Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Revengeance follows the story of Raiden 4 years after the events of Metal Gear Solid 4. Raiden now works for the PMC Maverick Securities. Throughout the game, Raiden confronts rival PMC Desperado, whose goal is to continue conflict around the world. As far as the story's canonicity goes, Yoji Korikado, who worked as the creative producer on Rising, claims it's canon, but many others disagree. Regardless, it's a side story that doesn't affect the main Metal Gear story anyway. So let's dive into the game with The Good. When your game starts with that, you know you're in for something good. Rising shoots straight out of the gate at blazing fast speeds and doesn't slow down. The story in Rising plays into this pacing. It's over the top, but in the best possible way. It's incredibly self-aware and is a great deal of fun to follow. It is short, however, clocking in around 5 to 6 hours. I enjoyed this length as it lends itself well into multiple playthroughs. Also helping cement the pacing are Raiden's movements and controls. Raiden's attacks are quick and snappy, movement is precise and feels accurate to what you're inputting. Raiden has a ninja run ability that allows him to deflect bullets with his sword as well as traverse difficult terrain by sprinting. This includes climbing up walls. Ninja Run is a blast to use and is an incredibly important tool when running towards ranged foes. The game's combat system has a decent amount of depth and an adequate skill curve and ceiling. It's not the deepest action game by all means, but it has enough to keep the novices and experts satisfied. Rising features a plethora of enemies that will challenge the player's skill. Some enemies have attacks that must be blocked, other attacks must be dodged. To defeat these foes, the player will have to use these skills accordingly and often in combination. Raiden also has an ability called Blade Mode that allows him to slow down time and precisely cut enemies into pieces. This mode has various strategic advantages, including slicing off enemy armor or using it to enter Zandatsu, where Raiden will cut an enemy open and steal their parts, giving himself health and energy. All of these skills and abilities also come into play during the excellent boss battles. Bosses are imposing and powerful. They require a great deal of precision to do perfectly and provide good challenge throughout the game. I recall having a difficult time on the final boss and having to retry the fight many times, but I never felt like it was annoying or cheap, but rather I was messing up. When I finally got around to defeating him, the rewarding feeling was fantastic. But it's time to talk about what wasn't fantastic in The Bad.
Played college ball, you know. That's a cushy Ivy League school. University of Texas. Could have gone pro if I hadn't joined the Navy. I'm not one of those beltway pansies. I could break the president in two with my bare hands. Don't fuck with this, Senator.
My biggest issue with Rising is that the level design is fairly drab. Most areas are simply just flat arenas where the game throws some enemies at you. This is also a problem with the weapons. The levels never incentivize you to use your other weapons like the RPG or grenade. Even if an enemy is at a distance, it always seems like a better option to ninja run towards him and slice him up instead of pulling out the rocket launcher. But those are really my only complaints, so it's time to move on to The Ugly, where I talk about the game's presentation and technical details. This footage was captured from the PC version of the game running at the highest setting. The PC version ran at a constant 60 frames per second for me, which is perfect for action games. As far as the graphics go, the game looks rather average. Some textures are pretty awful, but the models are fairly nice, but nothing spectacular. The presentation really shines when the music kicks in. During boss battles you have an instrumental slowly building to the final phase where lyrics kick in. As showcased in the cutscenes during this review, the music is as fast-paced as the game, and it's an absolute joy to chop people up to it. Rising Revengeance is a great hack-and-slash action game. I'd recommend it to anyone interested in Metal Gear and action games. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance gets a meme out of 10.
Free will is a myth. Religion is a joke. It's controlled by something great. Memes. The DNA of the soul.